Hey there, movie fans. Welcome to a brand new episode of FYC from now until March 2nd, 2025. Every week, we are going to be covering the ups and downs of Oscar season. We are in the beginning, or actually the middle of November, but we've still got a long way to go. We're starting to revisit some of the categories that we've already done now that we've seen a lot more movies and can make more informed opinions on the nominees here. Of course, as always, FYC is me, the amazing Perri Nemiroff, and the mighty Jeff Snyder. We are taking another look, our second look at Best Director, to see if anything has changed or even the order has changed from our last prediction. So, without further ado, I'm going to start with you, Mr. TheInSnyder.com. Who is your first choice for Best Director? Was it the same as your pick from last time?
I don't remember what I picked last time, but I'm going to say that I think that the frontrunner for Best Director is Brady Corbet for The Brutalist.
Ooh.
Okay.
I think that movie is just on another level compared to everything else that I've seen this year. It is a directorial tour de force. Some of the images in this film will stay with you for a long time, and I think that he has a great shot.
Yes, he definitely is a great shot. And Perri, where is Brady Corbet for The Brutalist on your top five?
Brady Corbet is my number 3, but for what it's worth, I do think my 1, 2, and 3 are as close to guaranteed nominations as we can get at this point in the season.
I think my number 1, 2, and 3 are also pretty guaranteed, although my number 3 is different from yours, Perri. I have The Brutalist at number 5 on my list, which makes him I'm pretty confident about my numbers 1, 2, and 3, and 4. But yeah, Brady Corbet is definitely making the list here for Best Director. I have no doubt about that. This movie won the Silver Lion Best Director at the Venice Film Festival, which is pretty damn impressive. I have my number 1. Well, actually, Perri, do you know what your number 1 is?
I do. I'm sticking with Emilia Pérez for now, but I do want to admit that I think the race between 1, 2, and 3, as I'm seeing it at the moment, is pretty close. But I'm going with Jacques Audiard for my number 1 right now. But I'm looking at my list. I know Brady Corbet and my number 2 are nipping at his heels, and anything could change at any given moment.
Jeff, where do you have Emilia Pérez on your list?
Oh boy. I have to bump Jacques Audiard down to 5.
Oh, wow.
All right. Yeah,
so I have him. Top 5. He is still in the top 5, but I think he's clinging to a spot. I saw Emilia Pérez since we last taped. It was okay. I was a little underwhelmed, and I think that the general sentiment that is starting to emerge right now is that this movie was definitely like a festival film, and outside of festivals, I don't think it's playing nearly as well. Adam Naiman tore it to shreds the other day. And I think that just a lot of regular folks are going to be watching it on Netflix. And yeah, sure, some will love it, but I think a lot of people are going to be left scratching their heads.
Okay, well, Emilia Pérez is actually streaming on Netflix now. So if you're watching this episode of FYC and you want to see what we've been talking about these last few weeks with Emilia Pérez, now you can do that. It is streaming on Netflix. I'm looking forward to seeing it again on Netflix. I've seen it twice on the big screen. I love it on the big screen. I got to discover it, if you will, at Telluride, and I fell in love with it there. Perri, I know you love it too. I think this is more than just a festival film. I think it's an extraordinary movie, period. A great movie by any other name. I have Jacques Audiard at number 2 on my list. And, my top 3 here could totally interchange. It's really hard to rank when you love directors and love movies the same, but for different reasons. So Emilia Pérez, Jacques Audiard, I have at number 2 for Best Director. The Brutalist, Brady Corbet, I have at number 5. My number 1, at least this week, is Sean Baker for Anora. This is a movie I watched it again. I saw it again, and I think it's an amazing movie. My God, such a high wire act. Sean Baker's best movie yet. That's saying a lot. Bold statement. I think his movies are fantastic. But this could easily flip with Jacques Audiard, tomorrow or maybe even later today. But for right now, I have Sean Baker at my number one. This movie did win the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival back in May. So, Perri, where is Sean Baker on your list?
Sean Baker is my number two. And speaking of how the public embraces a movie compared to the film festival crowd, I saw Anora again the other day in a public screening at my local theater, and we're a couple weeks out from its initial release. My theater was packed. It was entirely full, and everyone was having a big reaction to all of the right beats. I just have a good feeling that, the film festival support bolstered by the public support. And also, I can say this and not jinx it because I know the footage exists and it can't just like poof vanish. But I had Mikey on Ladies Night the other day. We're going to release it next week. I do think that on the campaigning circuit and in these Q&As, the way that cast speaks of Sean and how he operates, I think that is only going to bolster his case as well. So he is like firmly my number two, and I would not be surprised if eventually I bumped him up to number one.
Yeah, it's really, really hard to rank these when they're just all great. So yeah, Anora is my number one, or Sean Baker. And Jeff, where is Sean Baker on your list?
I have him at number two. I think that this race is definitely between Brady Corbet and Sean Baker, and I think that there will probably be a split where one of them will get director and one of them will get original screenplay.
Okay.
I saw Nora as well again the other day, and it's just clearly one of the best movies of the year. And this is also the movie that again, I'm told by folks around town that most filmmakers wish they had directed this year. Right? This is the awards title that everybody is jealous of. So I think Sean Baker has a great chance. It's all about just, how people receive The Brutalist.
Yeah, well, Anora is coming out. I mean, look, I agree with Perri that the screenings have been packed and everyone's been talking so favorably about Sean Baker. The Florida Project, Tangerine, Red Rocket, which was an awesome movie that hardly anyone talks about, but that movie's excellent. Nobody makes movies like Sean Baker, that's for sure. And so far, we have the same three movies in our top five: Anora, Emilia Pérez, The Brutalist, Sean Baker, Jacques Audiard, and Brady Corbet. So Anora's my number one. Emilia Pérez is my number two. My number three, holding at number three. Actually, I think it was number two the last time I picked it, but it did drop a little to number three. It's still Tim Feldbaum for September 5. I did see this movie again. I know people are thinking like, all these movies you guys have to see. How are you finding the time to watch it again? Well, when you love a movie, you make the time to watch it again. And I love September 5. I've been raving about this for weeks. I have Tim Feldbaum at my number three. Now, this is where it gets a little dicey because I'm not really seeing from the expression on your faces, Perri and Jeff, that you even have Tim Feldbaum in your top five.
Not yet, but it's like I've been saying with this particular film. I feel like I need to continue to play the wait and see game. I do see a world in the future where it starts to make maybe a little more noise than it has thus far, because they're only at the very beginnings of that particular campaign. So I do think maybe I'll be going down that path soon with you, Mance.
All right, Jeff, do you have Tim Feldbaum in your top five?
No, I do not. I mean, I just haven't seen the film yet. But I just, I don't, again, he could knock on the door right now. I'd have no idea that it's Tim Feldbaum.
Okay. So you haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. Needs a larger profile, I think.
Well, I love this movie and hopefully you will put it. So that's out because I'm overruled on that one. All right. So then, Jeff, what do you got next on your list? What did we miss?
I think number three for me is a guy who's rising in the ranks, and that would be Edward Berger for Conclave. Yeah, I think at the beginning of the season I was maybe a little bit skeptical, but that movie is showing staying power in theaters. It's sparking a conversation. There's a lot of like painterly images. I mean, I really liked what Paul Schrader had to say about this movie, so I think that Berger is going to make the cut.
Okay, Perri, do you have Edward Berger on your list?
I actually bumped him down to number 5, but I still do think his chances are pretty good at this point. I think Conclave has proved it's had staying power, and that is what you need this time of year. So I have a feeling it's going to do well in this category and many, many others.
Okay, so since I'm getting knocked off with Tim Feldbaum, I'm going to put Edward Berger in my top 5. He was in my honorable mentions, but it was really, really tough to put him in the honorable mention. He deserves to be in the 5, and maybe he will be. So I'm happy to put him in my 5. Perri, what are we missing from your list?
Missing my number 4. And my number 4 makes me very, very happy.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, Jeff, I could tell by your expression you might know where I'm going. I'm going with John M. Chu for Wicked. I'm sorry, but that reaction at all the screenings I've been to is just undeniable. There's a next level enthusiasm. When I look at a lot of these movies that we're discussing too, I just feel like Wicked's going to scratch an itch or fill the heart in a way that's unique to just about every other Oscar contender. I do understand that maybe some folks out there won't be as enthusiastic about the film as I am, but it is a movie that makes you feel good, that makes you want to do good. And the energy in the rooms that I've been in where it is played, where talent has appeared to talk about the film. And again, similar to Sean Baker with Anora, in all of these conversations, it's an extra special sentiment that everyone is expressing in terms of how he is to work with as a direct collaborator and also as a leader managing this enormous production. So I do think Wicked is going up, up, up in a number of respects. I can't wait to see it crush it at the box office too.
Okay, Jeff, where do you have John M. Chu on your list?
I don't, but this is a good conversation to have. Like, I don't see the movie till Sunday, so I don't know if he hit it out of the park or what. He doesn't strike me as the kind of person, like just the kind of filmmaker I would put on a list like this. Like, I'm surprised you didn't say Denis Villeneuve, and I have Denis on my list, and I still think that people are going to vote for Denis over John Chu simply because of who he is, almost. But I think that it makes sense to mention John Chu. I mean, Wicked is certainly coming on strong. Honestly, I had not thought of him as a contender for this, Perri, but you may have changed my mind on that.
I was on the fence about putting John Chu on this list because, well, I have Ridley Scott on my list for Gladiator II. And I have Ridley Scott on my list because while I don't think Gladiator II is as good as the first, I still think it's really, really good and very, very entertaining. As bad as good as a movie can be when you're following 24 years later, Best Picture winner, for which Ridley Scott was nominated but didn't win. That went to Steven Soderbergh for Traffic. But it's between Ridley Scott in terms of the last space for my top 5. It's between Ridley Scott and it is between John M. Chu, partly because of what Perri just said. I think the timing of this movie is great. It's a movie we need right now. Is the morale in this country is really not great. You need something uplifting. This movie is opening Thanksgiving, the week before Thanksgiving weekend. It's going to make a killing. I know, Jeff. I know.
Well, wait a second. Again, you guys, I agree with you that the country does need something uplifting, right? And that Wicked could be the beneficiary as well. But we're not talking Best Picture. This is Best Director. I don't see how the country needing, something light affects a Best Director nomination.
Well, movies don't direct themselves. So if the movie is getting talked about for Best Picture, this movie should be talked about for Best Director. And the reason I say that is because I was really, really, really impressed with what I saw. The movie really, really knocked my socks off. It blew me away. I was extremely entertained. I thought, this is a movie. I mean, the production design of this film, the costume design, the visual effects, the performances, it's a movie with a capital M. And, it's definitely going to have a banner day at the Golden Globes for Best Musical or Comedy. But I think it deserves to also have a banner day for the Oscar nominations when those are announced. And I've been, I'm totally down with putting Chu on my list. So
over Denis.
Yeah. I mean,
for the record, Jeff, I think they're both really great films overall and both very well directed. And obviously, Denis has a reputation in this particular space that John M. Chu does not have. I do think in this case, I know we always have the box office debate, but in this particular case, when we're heading into a movie that inevitably will be one of the greatest successes of the year, a movie that the public and also critics and Academy voters will likely want to see multiple times, I do think the proximity between Wicked's release and nominations will push him ahead of Denis, who has to basically carry the entire calendar year.
Right. And I also, look, I think Denis Villeneuve is on the same level as Christopher Nolan, where he's just batting 1,000. Every movie he makes is great. And, to make a sequel, part 2, if you will, to Dune, that it's at least as good as the original, at least I think so, the original that he directed before. But I just think it's a timing thing. There's only 5 places for nominations. And I think that the timing of Wicked Part 1 is absolutely perfect. It's going to be on this crest that, that's going to carry it into when the nominations are announced in January. It's going to play extremely well through the holidays. It's going to be a big, huge hit. And I know, look, whatever, box office, schmox office, but I think it's a great movie. I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful film. I'm not like the musical fan, but I loved Wicked Part 1.
I'm not gonna drag my heels or put up a fight on Wicked. I'm actually gonna circle back and say, is it possible that Denis gets in over Jacques Audiard? Is there any weakness on the part of Emilia Pérez that you guys sense?
I think that's a good one. I think that's a big one. Excellent point.
I think there's been some criticisms that have been gaining steam regarding the film. And I do think it's just a matter of if that conversation continues to head down that path or it veers away from it. And I think either are possibilities. It does also seem to me like Netflix, which is a juggernaut in this space and has a lot to spend. It does seem like they are putting more of their eggs in the Emilia Pérez basket than elsewhere, and that will also wind up working in his favor. A very random thing that did cross my mind with Dune, especially because I had just emphasized that came out a long, long time ago, and it might not be fresh enough in everyone's brains. I wonder if the release of Dune Prophecy is going to help it out, and it's going to put Dune as a franchise back in the spotlight in a way that basically pushes Dune Part 2 to the forefront of the conversation more so than it would have been if a show hadn't been released right now.
Well, that's a really, really good point, but that's the timing thing that I'm talking about with Wicked. But what I will say, because Jeff brings up a really good point, especially when he points out that now that more people are starting to see Emilia Pérez, and maybe not like it as much as the film festival circuit did. And because Denis Villeneuve did not get nominated for Dune Part 1, and that could be a chance for this sort of he should have been nominated for Part 1. We got to nominate him for Part 2. This is a very, all this talk here, like what if this or what if that makes this category a good one to watch. Usually it's always like supporting actress or maybe lead actress or whatever. That's like, can't wait to see how this is going to turn out here. But director is going to be like a great category to watch because, a movie we have not seen yet, at least I haven't, is Complete Unknown. And if James Mangold knocks that movie out of the park, we're going to be having a very different conversation the next time we talk about Best Director here on FYC. And while we're talking about FYC, just scroll down a little bit, subscribe to Perri's channel, make sure you subscribe to theinsnider.com. All right, back to the show.
Wait, I have a question for you guys that only you two can answer.
All right.
Is Robert Eggers in the mix here?
No.
I would love to say he's in the mix. It is an uphill battle for a genre movie. Doesn't matter how damn good that horror movie is. It has a steeper climb inevitably than any other film out there.
I agree completely. There's also The Substance, Caroline Fargate, Civil War, Alex Garland. I know that came out back in April.
What I would give to see Coralie Fargé on this list.
Yeah, right. I would love to see her on this list. I mean, Demi Moore will be on another list that we're going to be talking about pretty soon. But Blitz, Steve McQueen, Room Next Door, Pedro Almodovar, even a real pain director, Jesse Eisenberg. He's, I mean, the movie's beloved, but it might be a little too small.
Last question, which I think is just a good little discussion. I don't think it has any chance. Do you think Clint Eastwood has a chance?
No. Yeah. I mean, the movie's great. I love Juror Number 2. Kind of the very, whole other conversation about the way that Warner Brothers just sort of like slowly put it out in theaters before they're going to drop it on Max. 94-year-old legend has won a lot of Oscars for Warner Brothers and made a lot of movies and made a lot of money for Warner Brothers, but it's just perplexing the way that they're treating this movie.
Coppola, no chance?
No. Not at all. Not at all. All right. So, okay. So, all right. So, yeah, I mean, right now I'm still really inclined to keep Jacques Audiard on the list. Although, Jeff, you make a great point. But
I'll keep him on for now.
And, I'm moving September 5th off, or, Tim Feldbaum, because you guys don't have him on your list, and that's the way it goes. I still think that Ridley Scott has a chance. Maybe Perri does not.
I don't think so.
Jeff, did you see it?
Yeah, I did.
And did you not like it very much either?
I thought it was okay. I was a little underwhelmed. I don't think it's his year.
I think we're on the same wavelength. Like I was entertained enough, but it most certainly does not hit the caliber of the rest of the movie. It's just not of the same quality.
Yeah.
I disagree a little. I really liked it a lot. I was surprised by how much I liked it. I think it's Ridley Scott's best movie since The Martian, if not American Gangster. But anyway, if you don't have them on the list, then you don't have them on the list. So I think the 5 we're going to go with here are Sean Baker for Anora, Jacques Audiard for Emilia Pérez, Brady Corbet for The Brutalist, Edward Berger for Conclave, and I'm going to say we go with John M. Chu for Wicked Part 1. What do you think of that, fellas?
I'll repeat what I said episodes ago. It would make my year to see Wicked crack some of these lists, and the fact that it's happening and the fact that it deserves to be on the list just like overjoys me more than I can fully express right now.
Hey, I hope you guys are right. I see it Sunday. I'll let you know.
All right. You'll let us know. And when we tackle Best Director again, we'll see if this list changes, because by the time we tackle Best Director again, we will have seen like the last one to see, which is A Complete Unknown, directed by James Mangold. Really, really looking forward to that. I'm a big, classic rock fan, a big folk fan, huge Dylan fan. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. But those are the directors: Sean Baker, Jacques Audiard, Brady Corbet, John Chu, and Edward Berger. And that brings us to a close on Best Director Take 2 here on FYC. Make sure you subscribe to Perri's channel here on YouTube. Scroll down and hit subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to Jeff's newsletter, theinsider.com, and check out Jeff's other show with my good pal Johnny Roca, The Hot Mic, on John Roca's YouTube channel. Until the next episode of FYC, you know the drill. FY. See you later.